ready. That out there, we can play a little bit of rapid just to get started. Yeah, that was an interesting moment just right before I came on here. A good friend of mine who is absolutely instrumental in helping me build the PC that's allowing me to actually get back on stream and just be up and running generally. He had suggested that maybe it would be a good idea to adjust the frequency of my RAM, bring it up to 3600, and my computer disagreed with that, and when I did that it wouldn't run, which absolutely fucking freaked me out. Yeah. So as a result, now I know how to let me see, reset the BIOS, which involves a screwdriver. Properly. There we are. Okay. Get some action going. This is a nice screen. Very happy with that. I can actually see everything I'm doing at once, which is new to me. Friend who helped me pick out all these parts and helped me through a lot of difficulties involving actually getting them together, suggested that a 27-inch screen would be actually quite small. But I'm used to a 15.5-inch screen, so this thing feels absolutely colossal. Okay. Looks like PD 2021 TRI is having a bit of a very early deep thing. Oh, maybe it's just buggered off or their connection's down. I have the bishop there, and PB 2021 TRI is not, so... Well, there's that, I suppose. And incidentally, it turns out the way, at least on this model of motherboard, it's the Tomahawk D550 from MSI. The thing to do if you make a change in a BIOS setting and it immediately your computer immediately stops starting. That actually sounds a bit crap. Is you look for the CMOS battery on the motherboard after unplugging the thing. Obviously, gotta unplug it. So otherwise, that could be bad. And it's the round silver thing towards the middle of the board, and to the left of it, on this model of board, there is a pair of pins that says JBAT1. And with the thing off, you just sort of put a screwdriver in between them to bridge the circuit, and it will reset the BIOS, and you'll be back up and running. None of which I knew when this happened, otherwise I wouldn't have freaked out. E1. Okay. Right now, for the foreseeable, I guess this pawn is unless White wants to go and trade knights, in which case they'll be down the exchange because they'll also be winning a pawn. I guess that pawn is fixed for the foreseeable. Which also sort of ratifies that square bishop with 9. What's the idea? Well, obviously this rook was meant to come down and sort of back up this pawn as it advances, but that's not happening at the moment anyway. So what is the move in this situation? I mean, I guess you get en passant, but that just gives me a nice open, semi-open file for my rook. Don't mind that. Yeah, there's oh, okay. Actually, don't mind that. Get out that bishop. Yeah, this has been yesterday. And it's funny when I was my mother asked me how long I expected it to take to build this thing. This is the very first time I've ever done this. Never built a PC before in my life. Didn't really expect to be building one right now in the first place, because my whole idea was I was just going to go very, very slowly and surely so that I could get better parts but just have it take longer, rather than just buy everything at once and have to compromise too much on quality just to get the build done. And then my laptop, my good laptop, fortunately I have a backup, but my better laptop decided to die on me. I mean, the screen died. Hopefully, it seems the drive might be okay. I'm gonna try to get the stuff off of there. But, yeah. So, I ended up doing this quite unexpectedly, and it was very educational. Because, for one thing, it did not take a couple of hours as I thought it was going to. It took 6 couples of hours. I was working, apart from a brief dinner break, I was working 12 hours straight to get this thing together. Mostly because of just shit I didn't know. Like, the screws when you're screwing in the CPU fan, the only way to get that thing those to be where they're supposed to be is if you actually stick the boot in a little bit, use a bit of force. But, I mean, you're new to this, and you don't want to break the very expensive collection of electronic things before you even get to see what they do. And so, yeah, you don't want to use too much force. Oh, sorry. Is this better? And can you hear me okay? And hello, by the way. Nice to see you. Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting all this stuff set up. How's that? So I've just turned it way down. Has that made any difference? Shit. Okay. Yeah. As I said, just sorry about that. Just still getting these settings correct. Is the audio okay now? I mean, can you hear me okay? Okay. Oh, resigned. That's interesting time to resign, but good game. No, I didn't turn anything off, but I did notice that on my OBS, there was, in addition to my normal input and output captures, something called desktop audio that I don't know where that ended up on here. Tell me if this changes the volume at all, because I want to know if this is even getting out over there, if this is what's affecting it. Did you register a change in volume there? Play one more, since that one was kind of anticlimactic. Infinite Gambit. Neat name. Hello, Chessmaster Wannabe. Welcome to my triumphant return after my good computer died on me last week. Is the music still silent? Okay, this is really weird. Oh, hell. Oh, no, that's audio output. Audio output. That's where it's supposed to be. Okay. So how's your week been? Yeah, all these devices are new, all these settings are new, so please let me know if it's Twitter nonsense. Okay, you were related to how your week was. I was like, okay, what's this to do? How's this relate? What happened to what are my settings doing now that they're causing Twitter nonsense? Actually kind of okay with either of those pawn takes. Because opening the F file is something I actually rather like to do in this sort of situation. Yeah, good. Yeah, sorry to hear that. Twitter nonsense is a most annoying sort of nonsense. A match? Are you on Lee Chess? Okay. Need to still connect the queen and the rook. No, I don't want to fianchetto this bishop. That's what I'd normally do, but if I do, then... Yeah, no, that would suck. Okay, don't mind that. Lock up the center a bit. It's a lot to get used to on this thing, but it is such an improvement over what I've been working with. Okay. Okay. To sort of get used to everything's in a different position. Because I got the keyboard on my lap and I have a freestanding screen for the first time in like decades. Okay, well, give me your username and I'll send you a challenge after this match is done. Okay. Where are you located? Oh, I miss Ireland. What part are you in? Like, Dublin or one of those places where you have to get off in a station called Junction. Oh, okay. A very presciently named county, one has to say. Because at the time, nobody could know that there would be a Taoiseach that people would want to say that about. No, but I spend a fair bit of time there when there isn't a plague going on. Spend a fair bit of time in Dublin mostly, but also in Limerick, Cork. Well, I spent a few days in Cork. And also a fair bit of time in like Clare and Belfast. Like Belfast. You know, I've had that Kilkenny joke for absolute years now, since he was Taoiseach, and this is the first time I've actually gotten to use it. And now you'd have to call the county Killeo for it to make any sense. Okay, this is looking a little bit dire. No, wait, okay. That'll work out okay. I'm not sure when it first occurred to me, but he would have still been Taoiseach at the time. It may have even been like Joan Burton's day. The Jobstown era. Okay, this is looking ugly. Well, I know a few, but I mostly play the English, the Sicilian, and the Pierts. The English, anytime I'm playing white, I know a lot of variants of the English. Let's see. Oh, shite. Okay. Need to get this knight back into the game. This is looking very dire. Actually, when we trade off, this begins to look not too bad. Oh, don't want to trade queens, do you? Okay. I'll have your wee bishop there. Yeah, you should hear what I sound like when I'm in Ireland. You put me in an area, and I just start the phonetics of it. I'm very easily influenced. I mean, it really comes out when I'm over there. I mean, and same thing, like, if I'm in England, I sound like that. And then, after a few pints, I sound Northern English. Somehow, like, after my third pint, I start to sound Geordie. Why that is, I don't know. It's just a thing. I don't even necessarily know that it's happening. Oh, shitballs. Okay. Oh shit, I got mate in 1 if I can just manage to get in there. And I'm... Oh, okay, yeah, we trade queens. We trade queens and I'm cool. Oh, yeah, shitballs. That's not gonna be good. But I think I can manage to get through it. Okay, we trade queens. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, plus they're very compatible accents, and they're bits of Canada, like Newfoundland. I mean, that Newfoundland is so Irish that they actually had their own version of Gaeilge that they spoke there. It's extinct now, unfortunately. But but like, Newfoundland is about as Irish as it gets without being in either Dublin or Liverpool. Get myself some nice wee passed pawns. I need to get this rook into the game as well. It's really just been getting a bit of a free ride at the moment. Oh, what part of Australia? That is a city I know entirely too much about, given that I've never once in my life been there. Just so many books and TV shows and movies that I watch is set there that I have like a ridiculous amount of local knowledge. Like, I even know which station you'd need to go to get the bush trains. Random shit like that. Oh yeah, I probably would actually. I mean, I certainly... Oh shit, that wasn't good. Well, it's not something I can really do on purpose for the most part, but give it a go. Been watching the Channel 7 cricket coverage, so I have been exposed to it for a fair bit lately. Got a nice pass pawn here. One short of its ton. And No chance of getting that rook in the game in time. And the bishop is the wrong colour. And so we get a queen. Okay, that really wasn't the way I necessarily wanted that to go, because that would mean losing me fucking knight. But, yeah. Protect that pawn. There, now we've got a defended knight and we can do this properly. Yeah, I know. I've gotten into this whole fuck about with the knight. But there we go. Bit of very undialectical materialism. And there we go. That is a win. Okay. Let me check that. Okay, if you're still up for that match, I'll send you the challenge now. Righto. 달려가자 미래로. 아, 그리고 또 전시죠. 아, 네네네, 취소. Meant for this to be a 10-minute match, but I hit the wrong thing. Okay. 강조 눈을 내자. Okay, castle to relative safety. Honestly. Okay. What shall we do? It's sort of a weird position here. Ah, yes, I saw that weak square there. No, I don't want to weaken that pawn any further. Now, where do I want to go? Get this knight someplace a little bit more active, I suppose. Well, this is... God, it's so nice having this much screen space. I haven't had this kind of screen space in, I think, ever. Oh. Don't mind if I do. And let's get this bishop developed at very long last. Oh, actually, I don't like that. Oh. Don't mind that, though. Yeah, that's a good idea. Get that rook out of harm's way. Oh no, that was actually a mistake on my part. Okay. To actually find some path to get this queen a little bit more active. So the queen's a rather important part of my position at the moment, and it's not doing anything. It's like a real queen. It's not doing anything. It's just sort of sitting there, looking important. Oh. It's amazing how much I had to be on my feet in order to build this thing yesterday. It's 12 hours, and the case on it is so deep. That I couldn't sit down and get a decent look into it. 상태를 기다리는 중. How is this? Ah, okay, my crop is good. Crop came out well. God, everything is easier on this computer. I just have to figure out a good way to get all my really important data off my other one. 우리들은 영원한 은임락자 맞소자가 누구냐 보라. It's your move, by the way. 보라, 우리를 보라. 전전의 군대. Oh, I'm moving up in the world. I'm getting spam DMs in Twitter in Japanese. Who the hell is this person? あなたは私がコメントするのを手伝います。私はあなたがお金を稼ぐのを手伝います。マーチャントが販売ランキングと高品質のレビューを改善するのに支援します。OK。露出を増やすために、ストアのリンクをクリックした場合は、クリックに対して料金を支払う必要があります。私は1日30分稼ぎ、給料は2万円です。2万だけ？友達を招待して1回限りのコミッションと毎日のコミッション。Oh, this is a total pyramid scam. Well,20歳以上の方はこのプログラムに参加できます。何千万ものコミッションをあなたを待っています。興味のある方は LINE をご利用ください。何百万もの招待報酬と何千万ものコミッションがあなたを待っています。特に言ってんだろそれ。お金を稼ぎたい場合は、次の行を追加します。Oh, and it's probably fucking spam phishing. I mean, okay. You know it's your move, right? Or have you gone? I had meant to set this as a time limit, but if If you want to finish this up, move in the next minute or so. Otherwise, I'm going to move on. I've another segment I'm going to do. Either way is fine with me. If you want to continue it, I am available to continue it. We can just keep the pace up a little bit. And if not, I really enjoyed having you on here, and I hope I see you again tomorrow night, for example, or any Friday or Saturday night at 11:30 to 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Okay. Okay, afraid I'm gonna have to move on to the next segment, since it seems like you're probably away from the keyboard. But it was very nice talking to you, very nice having you on. I'm gonna move on to the next segment, where we're going to continue with a PragerU video we started 2 weeks ago. Okay, where we last left them, Will was profoundly upset by the fact that there were characters in a Lord of the Rings show. Let me get that audio output capture probably needs to get moved back up. In a Lord of the Rings TV show that weren't white, and that freaked him out, and so that's where we are now.
Everybody should have something like that they love. Everyone should have like a great piece of art.
I have plenty of things that I love.
What if Tom saw...
Yeah, oh, that's right. And then they go to Amala. Yeah, he wants to just sort of feel like this isn't just some like racist white guy shit, which it exactly is. So he's like, Amala, you must have something that you would freak out if it was woke. And she said, and she doesn't have anything. And it turns out that he clearly, neither he nor the other white guy here, I forget, Arnold or something. I forget. He's forgettable. They were. They made it clear that they have never once made any attempt to get to know Amala, because they just sort of spewed out like random shit that they thought a young black woman might be interested in, which none of which she actually said she was rather offended by, which she would be, because clearly she wasn't anything she was terribly into. And then they finally keep pressing her, and she's like, yeah, well, actually, I mean, the thing is, actually, most of the things I'm into are pretty woke to begin with, and so this is what they're freaking out about right now.
Noah came out and was like, I was really a leftist this whole time.
I'd be like, damn, that's
like that is actually very surprising to me.
Is it?
You don't have that.
Oh, I'm sure I have something. It's just when you ask somebody on the spot, and I have to think of something.
If someone asked me on the spot, I would say...
You would say Lord of the Rings.
Immediately. I would
because you have
Someone
a very...
Yeah, because that's his entire fucking personality, that and freaking out over Muppet babies.
Look at this photograph.
Look at this photograph.
There's not enough diversity represented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not. I don't have a Lord of the Rings. I definitely don't have a Lord of the Rings.
I thought you were
You guys have like
We've said this before. Amalah's seen like 3 movies in her entire life.
that is so. I've seen more movies than
Who the hell's talking? I mean, your entire personality is that you like Lord of the Rings.
you combined. I just don't have one that's like, if this movie gets remade, I'm gonna cry.
Well, if we're talking about
Oh, she's making fun of him. Oh, God, I'm so here for this. Come on, Amala. You are This is great. She's taking the
I've
piss.
seen more than
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, no, you guys like sit here and quote Lord of the Rings all day long back and forth. I don't have that thing. I definitely don't.
Yeah, with the,
It's all right. Listen, you're
It's
young.
called-
It's all right. I don't
You're
feel
young.
sad about it. It's definitely all right.
You should have
oh God.
sad for you.
Oh,
feel sad
I like.
Because art and those kinds of things are beautiful
I'm
and
sure.
amazing.
Oh God, see. Yeah, because she doesn't go back and forth quoting one movie all the fucking time that just happens to be an extremely popular movie that, that means she doesn't appreciate art. God, these guys, that's really something. Apparently that's art.
Think of
And they're the
something.
things that inspire you to be passionate about
I
life.
appreciate art and music.
Art and beauty.
Amala quotes the
Writing.
Constitution and Bill of Rights.
The Federalist
A
Papers.
true patriot.
If somebody
yeah.
ever rewrote the Federalist Papers.
Nerd.
No. Yeah, I'll think of something, guys. I'll get back to you on
Dennis
Monday, maybe.
Prager's Rational Bible.
Yeah.
God forbid.
Dennis Prager's Rational Bible. That like better not be a thing.
They change Deuteronomy.
Oh goodness. No, I'll think of something. I promise you guys.
They actually kind of have changed the Bible a fair bit. I mean, every time it gets translated, somebody adds some kind of bullshit. I mean, the CIA actually had their own Bible translation outfit back in like the 60s and 70s. And in one edition of the Bible they translated for indigenous people to distribute to amongst indigenous people in Paraguay, they changed this line, he said, where it's like, in the Gospels, I'm Jewish, I get this stuff in passing by osmosis because this is a fucked up Christian country. It's like something like, listen to the temporal authorities or something like that, and they change it to, and the CIA's pet Bible translators changed that to listen to the military junta because they are God's representative on earth. Like, changing the Bible's kind of just a thing. Pretending it
here's a
wasn't
video
changed,
here.
though.
A lot of you struggle to understand leftist language, as we all do. It's an ever-evolving.
Oh, they're gonna tell us about leftist language. Oh, this will be interesting. This is what I actually was into.
Their terms and the terminology and Latinx and a woman and equity and inclusion. It's definitely Latinx, not Latinx.
But Latinx is much fun
No.
to say.
It is much fun.
It actually is Latinx, and because that actually. And okay, before we go on, because I'm sure they're gonna have this claim that this is something that people made up in the U.S., which is bullshit. It came from South America. I was seeing it used in Chile years before I ever saw it used in Latin America. I adopted it earlier because I was always seeing it in Chile, and yeah. So the reason that these dickheads can claim that Latinx is actually a U.S. thing is that when you look up Latinx, you only find it in the U.S. But there's a reason for that. It's nothing to do with the X. It's to do with the fact that the concept of Latino makes absolutely no fucking sense outside of the U.S. In Latin America, it makes absolutely no sense. It's not a meaningful ethnic category because everybody from Latin America is that. I mean, you have Latine white people, Latine Arabs, Latine indigenous people. It's a multi-ethnic fucking society. It is not a meaningful distinguishing feature until you get into the U.S. So that's where that comes from, and so much bullshit from weones que no hablan ni una palabra de castellano. From just dickheads who don't understand any fucking Spanish, comes off of this. And I'm pretty sure we're about to start hearing about that.
Funner to say than Latinx.
Funner's not a word, actually. More
Yeah,
fun.
it's more fun. Anyways, but Peter Boghossian, you know, our famed professor from Portland who left his school because he was being harassed by the woke left, has come out with a little guidebook. We're going to show you a little clip. This one is about...
Oh, okay. Peter Boghossian, right? Okay, why exactly? I'm very curious. Okay, so the Grievance Studies affair. Oh, he's one of those new atheists. Okay. Grievance Studies affair. Oh, yeah. Okay, so basically he got criticized for being reactionary and engaging in alleged research misconduct. So that's the woke mob harassing him.
About the word equity and what that means exactly, because I'm sure you're hearing it all over the place now with the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that everybody's talking about and CRT. How is this leftist? This is liberal. I mean, this is not some terms that leftists have somehow like brought into the discourse. This is just standard fucking liberalism, like HR grade liberalism. There's like leftist about this shit. How fucking right wing do you have to be for this stuff to sound leftist? Garbage. So let's hear what he has to say.
Equity. Equity means making up for past discrimination with current discrimination. In an equitable system, certain individuals and groups must be discriminated against in order to make up for discrimination that other individuals and groups suffered in the past.
Oh god, that's okay. Yeah, it's always fascinating whenever you hear one of these professors that right wingers have decided to turn into some kind of cause célèbre. You know, they're harassed by the woke mob for their ideas and all that shit. It always turns out they're the most mediocre motherfuckers ever. Because this is just, well, this is like PragerU quality. Well, it is PragerU. It's of course it's PragerU quality. Like, because the fucking point is it's still going on. It isn't just discrimination in the past.
Equity and equality do not mean the same thing. In fact, they're opposites. If a system is equitable, that means, by definition, people are not treated equally. For example...
No. It means you recognize that when people are starting from totally unequal starting points, you can't... that treating people exactly the same is not going to result in equality. I mean, this is not... See, what he got this from is that fucking meme. With the people standing on the different footstools or whatever to watch some kind of a sports ball match. I mean, that is like the depth of this analysis.
If a company adopted an equitable employment system, that would mean they hire more women than men because women have faced significant past discrimination.
Oh yeah, just only past discrimination. Yeah, of course. Only past.
So in an equitable system, the best candidate is not judged solely on the basis of merit or ability, but is judged on the basis of some characteristic like sex or sexual orientation or race.
Yeah, because, see, somehow, back when it was basically only straight white guys, preferably from an upper class background, who were getting any kind of decent jobs, yeah, that was merit, you have to understand. Well, that's what they mean when they talk about merit.
In an employment system that has equality as a core value, any characteristic other than merit does not factor into the hiring process. In other words, if someone is gay or Native American, that would not play a role in whether or not they were hired. Equality means not being judged on immutable physical characteristics.
No, that isn't what equality means.
Boom. Mic drop there.
the difference between equity and equality. And a lot of people use those words as if they're interchangeable, and clearly they're not interchangeable. Equity
Well, yes, if we buy this bullshit from Peter Boghossian, which doesn't even make sense if you think about it for half a second, but, yeah.
is an evil word. Equality is a good word.
Oh, wait, God, see, I mean, I was just, all I said about taking the piss out of the shallow analysis of Peter Boghossian, and she manages to actually find a shallower way of analyzing it. That's something.
Oh, there's silence on
I was banning a spammer.
You're banning a spammer?
No, but it's true. You're banning a spammer. What were they spamming?
I don't know. They're just saying hateful things. And look, we tolerate...
Well, they were saying hateful things. How do you know they're not a legit viewer? I mean, that's all you do.
People who disagree, if you want to give a different perspective on equity, for example, but if you're going to be abusive or just spam, then sorry, bye-bye.
Wait a second. I mean, you're the people who talk about how being abusive and spamming is just free speech, but I guess some rules for me, but not for thee.
But what I think is important is that we break down these terms when we're talking about politics, because when we do that, we need to establish a common ground definition of what these things mean. And it helps you in arguments. If you're just arguing about two things and you haven't decided on what the definition of that thing is, your argument is going to go nowhere. So
actually, I mean, I will say that's actually a good point. When you have, because so many discussions actually end up being just massive equivocation fallacies, because two people do have completely different concepts of what we're talking about. I mean, you do have to make sure that there is some sort of common understanding of what's being said in order to have any kind of a valid discussion. That's valid. That's true.
Him putting out this series and defining what the difference is between equity and equality, words that are often used interchangeably when they should not be used interchangeably, is super important. And again, equity is cutting people off at the knees and saying they're equal. That's exactly
no, it isn't, though. I mean, that doesn't mean we just, use bullshit definitions. And to claim, what I love about this is that, see what he does, and what they're doing is claiming that this is what leftists mean. We'll leave aside that this isn't a term that really is a particularly leftist term. It's just the whole thing is just the language of, HR policies. But, so instead of just saying that this is their understanding of the concept, which would be honest, they have to attribute it to somebody else.
exactly what equity is. Well, equality is saying, I'm going to take all the people sitting in this room. We got Will, we have me, we have Taylor. I'm going to judge all of you based on your merit and characteristics rather than judging you on any other qualifications or any other parts of your looks or your gender or your sexuality. That's what...
And, I mean, but the thing is, if you were judged on merit, you would not be getting any airtime because you haven't got any.
True equality is. We should be advocating for equality, not for equity, yet everybody and their mother is calling out for equity today in America.
If we got judged just on our looks, Hot Scott would be... He'd be
the one
show.
Sitting right here.
He'd be running the place.
He would be running the place.
The Hot Scott Live.
Yeah,
Yes, it
seriously. It's a good point. It's a really good point to think about. And what you said, I think, is really important for people to know, that you need to define the definitions when you are talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is
Define the definitions, yes. We can tautologize the tautologies, too.
number one. And if you can't define the definitions clearly, you really have no place in even having a discussion about these things. Because nothing gets accomplished when no one can actually find out what it is. It's like if you're talking to people about socialism and you try and define socialism with them, and before you're even talking on whether it's good or not, neither of you can define it, you're not going to be having a very successful...
Well, I mean, see, which is why, I mean, this is a good example, really, of why PragerU has no place having a discussion about it, because every single thing they've done on socialism, they clearly haven't the slightest idea what the fuck it is, or they're hoping that their viewers don't know what the fuck it is, because they're completely away with the fairies on it.
Interaction with this person. So having definitions is incredibly important. And one thing also to note about that you have to be less vain when you're going and talking to people about these things too, and realize that the person who you're talking to might be able to change your mind as well. I think that's something that is lost on a lot of people. Like,
okay. I would like to see that happen with these three.
think that you're just like ask Taylor and Amla, they'll clearly tell you this, that my political ideas and values have, not really values, but my ideas have changed, dramatically in like the last year, especially since the pandemic started, looking at people and researching and reading things.
What, you were less racist before, or what?
And having a lot of changes, and also from just going and talking to people with different perspectives. Like I was having conversations with on Twitter last week with some very prominent leftists, talking to them, and I was like,
Oh, I'd love to know what prominent leftists these are.
because I put out a tweet about income inequality, about income inequality and how Republicans in Congress care nothing about income inequality. As the poor gets larger and the middle class shrinks, no one in Congress does anything about it, right? Democrats obviously don't care either, but I was talking about Republicans because...
Okay, which is, I mean, he's not wrong there. As painful as it is to say when he's not wrong.
Care too. And I talked to a lot of leftists about this, and we're like, why can't we learn together? Like, there's people in this country who seem to be pitting us against each other, where we can't have these conversations. And
The people who are pitting us against each other so we can't have those conversations are the people paying for your platform here. Because guess what? The reason that the politicians who work for rich people don't want to actually end poverty or anything like that is because the only way you can end poverty is by not having any rich people either. Poverty is what you get when you have fuckers when you have a situation where more than half of the money on the planet is in the hands of few enough rich pricks that you could fit them into the room I'm in, and they would be relatively comfortable, except for my presence. I would make sure that they weren't very comfortable.
And talk to each other and all of them. It's like I was talking to some of the biggest YouTube leftists out there, and we were getting along and agreeing on so many other things, right? And it's because we, first of all, talked about the definitions and what we believed in, and then we're...
Okay, I'm curious what YouTube... I really want to know what YouTube leftists he was talking to. I'd like to know if they actually were, or whether it was just like fucking David Pacman and the rest of the YouTube liberals.
We're not afraid to say, hey, I might learn something from this person. Right? I'm not talking to the leftist personalities who are sellouts or who are liars about the things that they believe in and are hypocrites. I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking to the ones who are on...
You mean sellouts and liars? So people who take money from oil billionaires to just spout whatever bullshit propaganda?
This leftist who might have some different intentions than I do, and we can come together and find common ground. So have an open mind when you're going and talking to people, and you might learn something too.
Very true. Yeah, no, you can avoid so many bad conversations and arguments if you just decide to define terms before you get into the actual argument or debate itself. I think I told this story on the podcast before or on Instagram or something, but there's a bar that my roommate and I frequent, and we go to it. It's this really nice place out in LA, and constantly we get people that walk up to us and end up asking what we do and all this stuff, and I get into working at PragerU and how I...
And I see. I would leave that out personally, but I guess you can't really hide being on one of the largest right-wing propaganda shilling operations on the internet.
Do commentary on different political things that are going on in the world, and I got into an argument with this guy about abortion, and immediately he starts coming at me. How could you be pro-life? This and that. The foster care system, putting out all these different arguments in regard to the abortion, the whole abortion umbrella. And immediately I just stop and say, well, wait, let's define what you think life is, and then I'll define what...
Yeah, except the thing is, it doesn't matter what definition of life you use. What is very clear is that a pregnant person is alive. A pregnant person is a living thing. It does not matter what you think of the life of a fetus or an embryo or whatever, whether you think that counts as a somehow independent life, which is just nonsense because it obviously isn't. It is completely dependent on a host. But, making it and this is a mistake, actually, that people make in these discussions, because it's really not about when life begins. It doesn't matter. The life of the person who's pregnant already has begun. Indisputably, nobody's arguing that. So, you, either you respect that person's autonomy, or you're an asshole.
what I think life is. And we go through that first, and he, again, tried to start spewing out arguments. No, let's define your definition of life. I'll give you my definition of life. If we don't agree, let's see if either of us are swayable on that definition. And then if we can't concur on that, there's the end of the conversation.
See, this is a good example of a manipulative use of the definition thing, because what she's doing there is turning it all over to the definition of life, as if that was something that we absolutely had to figure out, a comprehensive definition of life, in order to have any kind of a cogent opinion on whether it is okay to deny somebody the control over their own fucking body to end a pregnancy that they don't want to have, that they might be actually at risk if they have.
That's all you have to do. And it's a very easy thing to do, but you just have to maintain your temperament and not get angry, which is probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really easy to talk past each other when you have a disagreement with someone. And
right.
The most useful
See, and the thing is also, I would just say, there's really no point in actually having this conversation. I mean, it is up there, as far as I'm concerned, it's like having a debate with Fash. I mean, you're literally declaring roughly 50% of the population to be beneath human concern when you start talking about banning abortion, and, you go even further, like, for example, Ireland's 8th Amendment, which fortunately is no longer in place, although it hasn't actually completely, there's still a lot of problems that have to be dealt with, because Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, I'm back on Ireland again, etc., don't want to actually just open it up all the way. But the way it worked was, no matter what kind of condition you had, what kind of treatment you needed, under the 8th Amendment, the only question that actually mattered was, are you pregnant? And in certain cases, if you were pregnant, and your life was depending on a certain treatment that might affect the pregnancy, then that meant they had to let you die. So, yeah, I mean, it does not really matter what you think about when you think life has begun, unless you're trying to claim that the minute a living person becomes pregnant, they're suddenly dead. You have to deal with the rights of that person.
To do is to really dig into, what is the actual thing that we disagree on? So find out, okay.
What we disagree on is the basic, whether 50% of the population have any entitlement to just basic human rights, basic bodily autonomy, something that the other half can largely take for granted.
Agree on this? Do we agree on this? Is it life up to this point or whatever? And then start with where's the actual, let's pinpoint that thing. And then how are you defining this? What do you mean when you say this? And then here's what I mean when I say this.
Right.
And that is how you have a fruitful discussion with someone and a fruitful conversation. And if someone else, even like Will's saying, if they're on the other side of the aisle, but they are willing to have a good faith discussion with you, then don't be the one who closes off the world to that possibility, because that is what is going to lead the world toward less polarization and more sanity. Is if people who are willing to have conversations in good faith do so, because there are plenty of people out there who are so ideologically possessed that are not interested in having actual conversations, and they're just interested in dunking on you, and that's really a lot.
Well, yeah, sometimes some people are actually not worth doing anything else. Like people who are paid propagandists, who are just going to spew whatever bullshit they are told to, no matter whether it makes any sense to them, whether they can actually justify it to themselves. I mean, people who, because they're getting a check, will pretend to be freaked out by fucking Muppet babies or whatever. Those are people that really there's no point in having a discussion with. You're not having a discussion with people at that point. You're having a discussion with money. Because even if those people decided that they couldn't handle it anymore, they couldn't deal with it anymore, they needed to actually find a job that was not completely conflicting with any kind of basic conscience that they might have, then then the money would find just somebody else to do it, and they'd be saying the exact same bullshit. So there's absolutely no point in having that conversation. You can't. There's no point in talking to somebody like that. You have to just talk. The only useful approach at that point is to just talk about them, to point out, without giving them a platform to spread their propaganda, why they're full of shit and how they do it. And if you can do it and also just take the piss out of them and have a good time with it, hey, it's content.
What you see a lot on Twitter is just one side dunking on the other, and there's not really any fruitful
And
discussions being
it's mostly you getting dunked on.
had. But yeah, the world could certainly use more of it. So, great job, Will and Amala.
Amala, that sounds like my hell.
What?
Going to a bar and trying to enjoy drinks and start debating someone
No.
on abortion.
I love it. I love it.
No, that is like...
Oh God! See, I'm not sure. It's like I don't debate. Okay, you're going to a bar, you have drinks, and you end up with a couple of paid right-wing propagandists wanting to talk to you about abortion. I mean, at that point, you were in the wrong pub. You're in the wrong pub. That is just that there are pubs where people like that would not feel comfortable being, and those are the pubs you want to be in.
I love it, and I don't seek it out. I mean, people walk up to me and then they ask me what I do, and then I can already anticipate what they're gonna. I try to avoid it a little bit. I go, I work in politics. That's all I say. I work in politics. I don't define it, and then they go, what do you mean by that?
Just say I'm an influencer. That's a common thing in LA.
Yeah, no, but I don't.
Yeah, or just say I'm a right-wing propagandist getting money from the Koch brothers.
No,
I
I
don't
go,
want
can
to
you
say
give me a
that.
discount on
No.
tea?
Yeah, then they're like, oh, so you take your clothes off and take pictures for Instagram, and I'm like, I don't want people to associate me.
No, that's much more dignified than what you're doing here. Yeah, I mean, taking your clothes off and taking pictures and making money doing that on Instagram or OnlyFans or something like that, that's legit. That's a hell of a lot more dignified than selling your credibility to just a pile of money who want you to just spew bullshit and have that be your name. Like, I mean, somebody who takes their clothes off in front of a camera and gets paid for that, if assuming that they actually decided that this was how they'd like to make their money, I mean, they are at the very least, to some extent, doing a sincere thing. There's dignity in doing a sincere thing. There's no dignity in being a paid fucking propagandist for a pile of money and an empty shirt.
So I say I work in politics, and then they ask what type of politics, and then they're the ones who invite the conversation. I'm not going out, seeking people and targeting them to red pill them, but I love having those conversations because, I mean, nobody truly ever, catches me. I never had,
I'll tell you,
gotcha.
as much as I really wouldn't want to have a conversation with any of these people, honestly, I would love to nail her down on the question of what supposed leftist organization she was previously in before she discovered the moral uplift that can only come from oil money. Because, I mean, it's probably going to be some Dem front or something like that, but, you don't have any particular... It's never specified in anything that I find, and we are rolling up on 1 a.m., so I am going to call it a night. I hope to see you tomorrow night at 11:30 Eastern Daylight Time till 1 a.m. Good to see you all.